Hello, everyone. It is another episode of James Reads from Star Wars Expanded Universe. I'm your host, James, and this time I'm going to be reading to you from Star Wars Red Harvest by Joe Schreiber. He is the author of the book that's out right now, Mall Lockdown, and I've been reading books that relate to it. Both books by Joe, books by other authors. And Red Harvest is a prequel to Death Troopers. It takes place back in the age of the Sith, in the Old Republic era. So let's go ahead read us a chapter here. Zoe awoke staring into the empty sockets of a skull. Not human, it was a misshapen thing, one eye hole appreciably larger than the other, and a third gaping just above it, its gap-toothed grin seeming to welcome her into some murderous new realm where proportions were a joke and nothing made sense. There was a dusky blue sapphire, probably fake, embedded in the thing's one remaining incisor. The skull's current owner had several lengths of thick cable through its facial sinuses so that it dangled like a grotesque bead on a string, and when Zoe sat up and tried to move away from it, the fullness of the chamber where she had awakened came into view. She was inside a kind of trophy room. The cable ran from one side of the room to the other. Rows of similar skulls hung on either end, dozens of them, grouped together in clusters, while others were set apart in twos and threes to create a ghastly abacus. Beneath it, an irregular array of vats and stained crucibles bubbled steadily over heating elements. In them, Zoe saw more bones and shanks of raw knobbed limbs protruding upward, some sheathed in yellow fat and sinew, while others seemed to have boiled down to the marrow. Moss and mildew covered the ceiling, years of lichen and mold, colonies of life competing for airborne fat molecules coming off the pots. The smell of scalded viscera hung permanently in the air. Swallowing, trying not to gag, Zoe squirmed again and felt something slick and oily brush against the backs of her arms. Turning around, she saw that the entire wall behind her was lined with skins and hides, each one crawling with layers of tiny blind beetles industriously gnawing away. She watched, helpless, as they burrowed in and out of the hanging flank, hauling off chunks of grayish flesh. "Bosky scarabs," a voice behind her said. Zoe snapped back around and saw the Whiffid standing in the doorway. His gaze was intense, corrosive, as if he could already see through her skin to the skeleton she would inevitably leave behind, bones he might boil out of her if she weren't worth waiting for the natural decay process to do it first. Zoe moved her head slightly and winced at the pain in the base of her neck. She remembered those last few moments at the Marfa facility, the butt end of the Whiffid spear, a glassy rocket of agony, the blurry slither of the corridor as it warped past the lens of her ever-dimming consciousness. And just before she blacked out, the hatchway. Zoe looked past the Whiffid, regarding her surroundings through this new, unwelcome perspective. The whine of turbines under the floorboards, the persistent shiver of the bulkhead. Though the room was without any sort of viewport, offering no sight of their greater surroundings, she realized they had to be in flight. "Is this your ship?" The Whiffid nodded once. "The Microca." "Where are we going?" This time he didn't answer, lumbering instead over to the nearest of the pots. She watched as he lifted the lid and dipped in with an oxidized pair of tongs, hoisting a grubby clamp of something that she realized was a type of shank. Bits of gristle and musculature, part of a leg, dangled from its lower edges. With an unimpressed grunt, the Whiffid dropped the part back into the pot and slapped the lid back down, then turned to walk out again. "Wait," she said hoarsely. The bounty hunter didn't stop. The hatch slid shut. So Zoe's got herself into trouble. She's been captured by a bounty hunter who is going to deliver her to a Sith Academy, and that is where the trouble really starts in Red Harvest. So go check it out. It's by Joe Schreiber. Both Red Harvest and Death Troopers are available in paperback. Mall Lockdown is out in hardcover and ebook and audiobook. So go get it, and we'll see you guys next time. May the Force be with you.